I sit myself in this sacred space that belongs to me. I realize my eternal relationship with the earth. The earth is our mother. She has fed us. She has generously supported us for generations. In this inner space, I can perceive all that she is, and I can watch her. She is alive, multifaceted, and powerful. She is carrying me. She's my mother, my friend, my strength, our mother, our friend. And in my inner strength, I perceive her sweetness, her joy, her power. I can also feel how each one of us, through our actions, our negative, selfish thoughts, has been destructive. And I sense that it is time to give back. Within the space of awareness that I am realizing today, I allow positive energy and love to flow. I share peace and harmony, creating balance in this eternal relationship with the earth. In this space where I can generate pure energy, I also feel I am able to regenerate myself. In this space, I can live, I can be, and I ensure that I express my truth, my peace, and the deep sweetness that's in my mind, so that I can connect to the source of peace. So that I can connect to the sun of light and love, who shines in the space of awareness. I go closer to this ocean of love, and I allow it to emerge in my heart in a never-ending flow of pure energy. And I spread this energy of love throughout matter, the physical world and nature. It is just as if I could create within me the most beautiful vibration and share it with all the creatures who live on the earth. with the earth itself and all its complexity, all the way to the center of the earth. I allow this energy of love to permeate my awareness in such a way that I can share it widely. And I offer the supreme energy, my energy of love, the energy of peace that is so close to me within the spirit world, to mend the long-term relationship that I have with the earth. Within the universe of thought, within the space of consciousness, I become a channel, an instrument to spread vibrations of harmony, as well as harmonize myself and share this strength with others, our Mother. My thoughts, my feelings, my heart, my intelligence unite in order to spread that energy. It is now my turn to give back to the one who nourished me, carried me and cherished me. In silence, I share and distribute. I love and allow myself to be loved.
A warm welcome and greetings of peace, everyone. On behalf of the Meditation Cafe, we welcome you to another interesting series of dialogue discussions that we have. But before we proceed further, here are some housekeepings for the session that as those who have been here before, you know, that the entire session, the participants will be muted for the entire session. But however, for the purpose of engagement and for the purpose of taking more questions from you regarding the subject matter today, we welcome you to post all your questions on the chat box. And however, others won't be able to see it. Only the host and the co-host will be see it, and we will address as much as possible. At the end of the talk, we will have a moderating session where we will bring the questions from the chat box as well as other questions that we have prepared for our speaker. And then we are here today to have a very pertinent and a very imperative topic of discussion. And it's about climate change and what are the challenges and what are the opportunities. And in terms of that, then we as humanity, we can never deny how we are so interconnected with the nature, and which then calls for us to come together to discuss, which drives, again, the advocacy and bringing collective awareness, bringing the consciousness, the interest, a pure desire, and at the end of the day, leading into an action that what can we all do to address these climate change issues. So in this session, then we will be enlightened by our speaker in the latest sciences in terms of climate change, where we are at right now, what are the opportunities we have to make a very positive impact on the environment and how to reduce the risk of the climate change. And we will discuss further with him after he enlightened us with this talk today. And to introduce so we are very, very fortunate and we are very grateful and honored to have, I dearly call again, Brother Golo, PILZ, who is the advisor of renewable energy with Brahma Kumaris Mount Abu. And a little bit about him. Born in Germany, he joined the Brahma Kumaris in 1984, and then he moved to India in 1990, and he founded the Brahma Kumaris Solar Department, which is very instrumental and in coordinating various research projects on renewable energies. And he brought a lot of international collaboration on those kind of projects way back in 1990s, and he's still working on it till to date. And he coordinated the India One project, which is an innovative 1 million watt solar thermal power plant with the storage at the Shantivan Campus. It's one of the largest campus of the Brahma Kumaris in India. And apart from that, technical and very scientific expertise that he has, he's also an experienced meditation teacher who has traveled more than 75 countries, lectures on wide range of spiritual and not leaving out environmental context. He always emphasized that, and he speaks at the UN climate change conferences since 2019. He has been doing that. He represents the Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative, and he continues to advocate on sustainable solutions, plus the ethical aspect of it, and through the value-based approach. So we are very, very honored to have him here. We will all listen and will be educated by his sharing of knowledge. And then we will have all the questions posted to him. Thank you. I hand over to our brother Golo.
Yeah, thank you very much to the whole Meditation Cafe team for setting up this session. And I hope I'm host now or co-host, so I will start the PowerPoint. And yeah, there it is. Can you see it? Is all okay? And thanks very much to the introduction. All these points, what I've done. I'm flabbergasted by these many titles and things. I came many years ago. Actually, first time I came 1985 to India, and in those days India was quite different. I traveled from Delhi to our main headquarters in Abu Road by third-class train. It was a steam engine, and India was much different. There was in Delhi lots of bicycles and rickshaws and very few cars. And meanwhile, 40 years later, India has changed dramatically. And since then also, the world has changed dramatically. And 40 years ago, climate change was not a big topic. It was here and there a bit discussed, and some people said something may happen, but it was a far away problem. And I'm very glad that the Meditation Cafe is organizing this actually 3-part session on climate change and what can we do. So this is the first part on challenges and opportunity, and I take the chance to sort of share a little bit what is actually going on in the climate area and what actually is climate change, because this word is being used so often and misused also so often, and there's also some conspiracy theories floating around, and some people say climate change is not really happening, and some other reasons are there for heating up of the planet. So I'm actually participating since 2009 at all the climate conference, and I have the chance to meet also a lot of scientists and people who are sort of very deeply into it, and they became my friends over the years. And I was able to see in detail how scientifically this whole information the data is being collected, then the data is being evaluated, and then finally, in the field of science, the picture becomes more clear what is actually happening. And then sometimes lately also science gives recommendations to politics what has to be done or what should be done. So let me start straight away a bit with the basics in climate change. And this is two graphs which are very interesting. On one graph, the upper one, we can see the global average temperature change since approximately 2000 years. And we can see that the temperature has been pretty stable. In the year 1000 to 1200, we had a bit of a warming up period. It's called the medieval warm period. And that was a time when in England they were growing grapes and so on. And it was really a period also where food production, everything was very high and plenty of food, and the many civilizations were thriving. Then in the 16th and 17th century, we had what is called a little ice age. And that was a period when, and the variations in temperature have been very minimal. Just like 0.5 degrees up, 0.5 degrees down, they already were enough to sort of create this changes in the temperature. And this is little ice age was the time when in Holland, for example, every year the canals, they were covered with ice, and every year they had this ice skating race. And the Thames, the River Thames in England also got covered in ice regularly. And food production in Europe went down, and there was a lot of hunger and misery also at that time. And in the lower graph, you can see since the year 1000, the CO2 levels. Now, temperature is changes are happening right now. As you can see in the graph at the end, the temperature goes up very steeply. And you can see also at the CO2 level that at the end, the CO2 level goes up very steeply. So what science found out is that there is a relation between, there are some natural factors which are causing our temperature. One is the activity of the sun, but also one is the concentration of carbon emissions and of methane also. Why so? Because these gases are called greenhouse gases. And in physics, you can do very simple experiment when you send heat radiation through a body, which is a glass container, which is filled with CO2. You can see that CO2 actually blocks the heat radiation. It's actually a good insulator. It's a better insulator than normal air. So the percentage of CO2 in the atmosphere is very, very small, 0.5% or 0.4%, very small. And small changes already increase this insulation effect. So the sun rays can enter planet Earth, but they cannot leave the system. And if you consider the whole planet Earth like a greenhouse, and you know in the greenhouse, it's always a little bit warmer than outside. In outer space, it's minus temperature, and life is possible on this planet because we're living in the atmosphere, which is very thin. It's only about 7-8 kilometers we have the atmosphere. But then imagine you have a greenhouse and now you increase the insulation layers. You improve the insulation. The sunlight still can enter, but when it tries to bounce back and tries to go out, it cannot go out. It gets stuck inside. So that's this thing what's happened with the planet right now. And that's why you can see CO2 goes up and also the temperature goes up. And the CO2 increase is happening very, very obviously since the 17th century and is connected to the Industrial Revolution and to the burning of fossil fuels. When you burn wood or you burn coal, it's a very high carbon emission. And this accumulated carbon functions as is a gas, functions as an insulator, and the temperature goes up. And here in this graph, we can see that the discussion in the climate society in the science is going on all the time, and they say we should try to stay below 1.5 centigrades global warming. This is the this is here, this one, 1.5 degrees, and this was the Paris Agreement. So basically, the Paris Agreement says we have reached now 1.4 degrees in this year. That's the level what we are seeing right now, the temperature increase, and we should stay below 1.5 degrees, because if we go above 1.5 degrees, there might be consequences in our climate and things might get totally out of control. It's already globally seen pretty bad. We have droughts, storms, and all this going on. But science says let's stay below. So all these agreement, discussion, climate conferences, they're all about increase the number of renewable energies, reduce the carbon emission, look into your personal lifestyle, what can I do, and so on and so on. I will come to that a little bit later. So here you see different scenarios of global warming. So a very optimistic scenario is that we reach 1.81. This is if the countries suddenly will do magic and all fulfill their promises and do much, much more. If that's not happening, we may reach to 2.1 degree, 2.5 degree, or right now, as per the present policies in place and also the number of power plants which are planned and being built, right now we're heading for 2.7 degrees global warming. This is the situation. So at the climate conference, there is like a subtle war going on between the gas and oil industry on one side, the mining industry, the big industry, and on the other side, some countries, some politicians and organizations which try to push for more reduction of emissions. And of course, the industry tries to stop it and says, no, we're already doing enough. And then, of course, there is not the necessary unity amongst all the countries. So this climate conference are very diverse scenario, and it's not always easy to understand what's going on and actually who is who and who wants what. So, and what the science has found out, that our climate is dominated or is being controlled, of course, by the temperature, and the temperature has a lot of influence on many other factors. Notably, here you can see the jet streams. And they have identified, science has identified 8 major jet streams which are circulating around the globe. And these jet streams are in the troposphere. There's a high-speed winds. And the pilot, when he flies, he tries to catch the jet stream and go with the jet stream, because they can be up to 200 kilometers fast. And so what happened is these jet streams, they have changed in the last year significantly. They have slowed down, and they also have they are meandering stronger. And because they've slowed down, we get suddenly high pressure system, which is not moving, or we get a low pressure system. This is why we suddenly get a drought for 6 weeks or 2 months or 3 months, and the drought is not moving, or we get heavy rain, and the heavy rain is also not stopping, because the jet stream has changed and it is more meandering. It's more curvy. And in the curves, we have in the curves then here, or here we have a high pressure system or low pressure system, and it controls the weather underneath. So these jet streams have changed. And in addition, also, we have in blue the Arctic ice shields, the Antarctic ice shields, and also permafrost and methane deposits in the oceans. These are also tipping points. And for example, the Arctic sea ice will be very soon ice-free in summer, and the ice won't come back. That's already quite clear. And all the major glaciers around the world are melting at a high speed. And glaciers are the support for 30, 40, 50% of the fresh water around the globe. So if the glaciers disappear, we will have more water scarcity. In red are the circulation patterns, the Indian summer monsoon, the Atlantic circulation, and the El Nino. And just to give you an idea, the Atlantic circulation here is responsible to bring warm water from the equator up to Europe and is our heating system here. And recently they found out that this Atlantic circulation is weakened by 20%, which is very dramatic. And an article was there in a Science 2-3 days ago that anytime this circulation can stop with devastating consequences. In green, we have the biosphere components. Here we have the forests in the north, in Siberia and in Canada. And maybe you heard last year there was 2,000 forest fires in Canada, and a very dramatic situation. And so they are under threat, our forests, because precipitation, the rain is changing, and thus all these forests are drying up. And of course, then they are prone to forest fires. So there's a lot of changes in this area happening. And so what is in the pipeline? So some effects of climate change we already can see all around the world, of course, is rising temperature, but more and worse storms. This is being confirmed by the insurance companies, which are keeping track of all the storms around the world. So every year now, they have to pay more and more money for damages because the storms become more frequent and they become worse. We have more and worse forest fires also. This is also confirmed by satellite data. And also the animal extinction is increasing because by the change of temperature, many species cannot survive anymore, and they either migrate or they die. We have also health effects. Here, more people die due to heat stroke or other related illnesses. Malaria is more prevalent, or dengue fever, and all this kind of things. And we have also more and worse droughts. And then we have a problem which is connected to the melting of ice, is the rising sea levels. And also due to higher temperature, the water is expanding, and that contributes to the rising of sea level. This is for some islands already a problem. I think it has, in the last 50, 60 years, the ocean has risen 3 millimeters per year, and the number is going up. And we cannot tolerate too much. I think 0.5 meter to 1 meter is the critical area. Then many coastal cities will have to be evacuated. And of course, all this causing a lot of economic losses. It is said we have now $400 billion per year losses through climate change. Meanwhile, by the way, it would be cheaper to fix the problem than to pay for the damages. That's quite interesting. So we have a lot of economic losses. And last not least, that's you can see the insurance become more and more difficult, and the farmers become also more desperate. And you might have noticed that this winter there have been a lot of demonstrations in Europe, for example, by farmers, because they have problems with the yield because of climate change. And all this is causing also a lot of displacement and migration in Africa. Many areas which are drought affected, people have to leave because farmland becomes desert. And we have a lot of migration and a lot of refugees, and this is causing conflicts. So in the future, we will see more and more conflicts also for natural resources like water and farmland. So all this is a bit happening, and that's in the pipeline, and that's quite a dramatic scenario. And here are some pictures from Germany. This is a maize field near Berlin last year, drought affected. Below is a forest fire also near Berlin, got a bit out of control, and it took them 1 week to douse it because the forest was so dry. This is the River Rhine, which is the biggest river in central Germany, and one of the biggest in Europe also. Normally the ships can go there, and they bring coal and sand and cement and all the goods and steel. And it was so low that they had to stop the barges. And that caused problems also for the power plants, because not enough water to cool the power plants, and also problem with the coal supply for the power plants. So almost there was a power shutdown in Germany, or load shedding, So this is just to give you an idea how serious this problem all is, and what it's all about, the discussion at the climate conference. So this outlook is quite dramatic, and we can become, like this picture quite drastically shows it, we can become a bit sad. And Sir David Attenborough says the collapse of civilization and the natural world is at the horizon, which is quite a bit of a dramatic outlook. And of course, many people are getting frustrated. There's a lot of anxiety also about climate change. And we met one of our BK sisters in Oxford. She runs a clinic. She's a psychologist, and she said she gets a lot of students and they says, I don't know what I should do. I have no future. I don't want to create family. I don't want to have kids, and I don't know what I should study or do because the future looks so bleak. So it's very important, despite all this dramatic outlook which we are facing right now, we consider it more like a challenge and like an opportunity for transformation and for adaptation. And you see here two animals which are very optimistic. One is the big fat elephant who is mid-air, jumping, hanging mid-air. And on the other side is the little monkey, which is thinking that he can catch the elephant. So both are very optimistic. The elephant believes little monkey can catch, and little monkey thinks I can hold him and bring him to safety. So we should be similar. We should be, despite this situation, quite optimistic and rather see what are the opportunities and the challenges for us. And humanity always has taken challenges to rise. And that's what humanity has to do. We have to rise, seeing this difficult situation. And Brahma Kumaris has created an environmental initiative in 2009. And we have joined the United Nations for Climate Change conference and participated since 2009 in every climate conference. So now is about 14 climate conference or 15 climate conference we have participated. And we're trying to inspire people to see the holistic picture, the total dimension, not only see actions and technology and funding, but also see the inner dimension of climate change, compassion, inner peace, inner love, inner happiness, how they are influencing our action collectively, and our collective action then shape the future of the planet Earth. And when we deal with our ego, when we deal with our greed, and we replace them with compassion and love, then we are ready to protect the planet and do something and really change the lifestyle. That is actually what is required, especially for our leaders and for the developed nations, because one thing we should not forget, that about 70 to 80% of the emissions which are causing climate change have been caused by the developed nations since 1860, since the industrialization. And these countries have developed, they became very, very rich. And so basically it is also their duty to come up with a solution and a lifestyle change. And they have to also initiate the biggest cutback in their emission, because the developing nations, they are basically not responsible. Just to give you an idea, Africa is responsible for 3% of the emissions, but takes a lot of damage already by climate change. And India also, I think, is 4% of the emissions, and also a lot of damage is happening. And these nations rightly say, please, developed nation, rich Western countries, please come up with money, with funds, with technology, and help us to adapt. And please also make the first major steps in cutting down your emissions. So we are trying to inspire people there to change on the inside, become creators, dreamers, peacemakers, mediators, strategists, and visionaries, and change on the inside, become vegetarian, meditate regular, live a simple lifestyle, and so on. And we have this environmental initiative, and you can go on our webpage, ecobrahmakumaris.org, and you will find a lot of informations there, what can be done. And we are also participating nowadays in many other UN conferences. We are not only at United Nations for Climate Change, we are also at United Nations for Water, United Nations to combat desertification. Then there is a UN Ocean Conference, there is a UN Conference on Food Systems, and there's United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, and there is also the Convention to Protect Biodiversity. That last one was in Montreal. So we are participating in all these conferences. We are going there, and we're trying to inspire people for lifestyle change. And we are having a lot of activities also, which we are promoting and inspiring, trying to inspire our centers. For example, we have an initiative called Plastic Free Institution. We have a tree plantation, we have a travel compensation, guidelines for the centers, and newsletter to raise the awareness for the coming changes and also inspire people to prepare as good as possible and adopt clean technologies or clean lifestyle. Plastic free, we all know, is a big issue. Microplastic is everywhere. It's meanwhile airborne, means it's in the air, and that's a big problem. We are breathing it in, we're drinking it with the water and with the food, and it doesn't decompose. So we should try to avoid plastic as much as possible, also when we are shopping or doing things, and go more to wood containers, metal containers, or if we use plastic, then reusable, as long as possible. We have also tree plantation campaign, 2 million trees we planted. We have a travel compensation where you can donate a bit money towards all the travels you're doing in order to compensate for the emissions. And we have guidelines also for the centers where we try to give them ideas what can be done. Here's a picture about the tree plantation. It's called Kalptaru. And you can see we are inspiring people to plant trees because trees are giving shadow. They are absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and they protect the local microclimate also. And very, very good thing to do, to plant a tree. And you can plant a tree, take a photo. There's an app. It's a very nice project, and we have planted, I think, 2 million trees already in India, but it's international project, so everywhere in the world. We also propagate the 5 Rs: rethink before you buy anything. What's my impact into the environment? Reuse as much as possible. Reduce your consumption wherever you can do. Go by train, go by ship, walk, take the bicycle, and last not least, take the car. And if you take the car, share it with somebody else. And flights, we also have to think they are also big carbon emitters. And then, of course, recycle as much as possible, and also refuse to follow all fashion trends and all new ideas. It's better to buy some good quality and use it for many, many years instead of following all the trends and buying so many things. That's one of the big drivers of climate change, is also our overconsumption. And that's where such a simple or adapted lifestyle can really bring a difference. Yeah. We also, of course, advocate a plant-based diet or vegetarian diet, at least. And here on the left side, you can see the list of different food items and their carbon footprint. And you can see meat is dark red. So up to 10 times more water and 10 times more land and 10 times more energy for meat production per protein compared to cereals or wheat or vegetables or nuts. This is the good food. And even milk and cheese are not so good, but so vegetarian is a plant-based diet is definitely the best one. And if you want to do something, become vegetarian or become even better, a vegan. And of course, also it's the thing we should do in order to protect the rights of the animals. These are our friends on planet Earth, and it's very cruel how at the moment we are treating many, many animal species on the planet. Yeah. Then we also go to the climate conference. As I said earlier, here you can see some photos from the COP28, where we try to create awareness. We have a youth delegation in our COP, means, by the way, Conference of Parties. So this was the 28th climate conference which happened. And you can see here our youth delegation, and on the right side, our stand. We had also an exhibition in where we highlight our projects, clean technologies, but also lifestyle change, vegetarian diet, through meditation, and so on. And here you see our team. In the middle is Sister Janti and Sister Maureen, and this is our eco team, green team, and we are going since, or most of us are going since many years, to the UN conference. And you can see we are preparing also already for the next conference, which is in Baku. Here you can see, oh, that was a bit fast. Here you can see our climate studio. We have set up a studio, a television studio, and we have more than 14, we did 14 climate sessions, interviews with scientists, but also spiritual leaders. And we live streamed those studio sessions directly into the internet, and they're available also on YouTube. On our we have a Echo channel, Brahma Kumaris Environment channel. We have it in YouTube, and you can see they're all very meaningful conversations about climate change, what's going on, what's happening, what can we do, and what is a spiritual solution, what is a spiritual remedy to the unfolding crisis. We also do press conferences, and we have a faith pavilion this time. Faith pavilion means that for the first time, there was a pavilion itself only for faith organizations, and there were hundreds of programs. Brahma Kumaris was one of the participating organizations. We had many programs there and shared our vision, and 80% of the world population is connected to one or the other faith and would have quite a substantial impact, actually, if the religions unite. And that's exactly what's going on right now, that all the religions, the faith, trying to find a common ground and join hands. There is also a Talanoa dialogue where we are participating. We did press conferences at the climate conference, and we visited also nearby the Noor solar power plant, which is the conference was in Dubai, and this is 50 kilometers outside of Dubai. This is one of the largest solar power plants in the world, has about 700 megawatt, and it's with mirrors concentrating solar power, but it's also with photovoltaic, and it's producing 25% of the power requirement of Dubai. And they're trying to raise it and increase it. And the power produced there is already cheaper than conventional power. Yeah, the outcome of the conference was a bit mixed. Here you see the official announcement of the declaration. So we had on one side, funds have been established for loss and damage. It means the rich countries put money into a fund, which is called loss and damage. And from these funds, the poorer nations, which are suffering from the effects of climate change, they are being compensated, and they can use the money to rebuild and to repair the damage of climate change. But that has been an idea since 10 years. Now, finally, it has been initiated. But they need, as I said, they need hundreds of billions of dollars. And so far, they might have 10 billions or 15 billions of pledges, funds to come in these loss and damage funds. The agreement which has been signed has a bit, as usual, a bit waggly. And of course, the problem is that all countries, all nations have to agree. And of course, an oil-producing country has a different interest than an island which is suffering from climate change, So all have to agree. So these agreements are often not that strong worded and leave loopholes where actually countries can escape their responsibilities. And the historical responsibility of the developed nation has also not yet really fully accepted. So this outcome is a bit mixed, and the problem is that we're sort of running out of time. So if we look from a spiritual perspective, we can see that there is a lot of old karma which we have to deal with. We have to build up our resilience, and we have to deal with the stress and the fear, and start with small steps, what we all can do. And there's a lot of practical solution for restoration of biodiversity, and Brahma Kumaris is very active. We have set up a department of renewable energies where we do research and installed photovoltaic system, steam cooking system, water recycling, solar passive architecture, solar thermal power, and energy efficiency. Just a couple of our projects. This was the solar energy house, which I was involved. I had the chance to build it in 1993 in our Gyan Sarovar campus. And this is a green building out of mud bricks, has all the features of a green building, solar architecture, solar concept, and there was a little wind generator and photovoltaic. And now the building looks like that. So it's totally covered by trees. It stays very cool. And you see on the left photovoltaic, and in the middle here is a little bit hot water system, a small wind generator. So this building is totally energy autark. It runs totally on solar. It stays warm in winter and cool in the summer. And that's how we should build in the future. Then I built also a meditation dome, also built out of mud bricks. And mud brick technology is very old, very ancient, very successful. And the oldest buildings in the world are mud brick buildings. They survive a long time. We have also installed small wind generators, did some projects there with wind generators. We installed solar cooking system. And in 1997, which we are replacing right now, this was a project sponsored by the German government, and we could cook 2,000 meals by the power of these mirrors. We had also a solar shop where we did promote cooking box and home light system. This is the cooking box, and we promoted and sold thousands of them, gifted them also. We also promote solar lantern. I think now we have maybe 30,000 lantern sold and distributed, and very versatile to have solar light. And in India, 60,000 villages without power. So it's quite a big issue. And here's a system in our hospital that's producing also steam for laundry and sterilization. And we have a lot of photovoltaic in our campuses. We have totally more than 500 photovoltaic battery systems all over India. We have 5,000 meditation centers, and hundreds of them are going now green, and we're putting photovoltaic and battery there, almost 3 megawatt capacity. And here in our Gyan Sarovar campus, where I am in Mount Abu, we have 400 kilowatt photovoltaic, and we're installing another 150 kilowatt right now. So we should be energy autark very soon. We have big batteries. We maintain them ourselves and store the energy. We're doing a research project right now for energy storage with vanadium battery, and hopefully the prices of storage will also come down. Here you see our campus in Abu Road, and you can see here on the left our solar cooker. We have accommodation for 20,000 people, and we have here our solar cooker, and we cook 35,000 meals per day with a solar cooker. And we did the building, fabrication, everything ourselves. This is our kitchen, and we cook for all these people. Very successful. Yeah, here we have a dish, 16 square meter. Then we have a photovoltaic system in our Om Shanti Retreat Center. All fabrication and the work is done by ourselves and by our own team. And photovoltaic cells, by the way, have become dramatically cheap. So the price has almost collapsed. And now, as I mentioned before, solar plates, solar power is cheaper than conventional power. This is a big project we did completed some years ago, India One. It's a 1 megawatt solar power station in collaboration with the German and Indian government. It's a $10 million project. We got 50% funding by Germany, 25 by Indian government, and 25 came from the Brahma Kumaris. And we tested and built a big 60 square meter dish. And this is the receiver. And this is the structural analysis, the fabrication hall, space frame design, engineering, erection of the first dish. And here you see the first dishes all installed, totally 770 dishes. And the specialty of the plant is that we have storage. We can store the energy overnight. And this is also another picture. You see, it's a pretty big system. It's running since the last 5 years. And this is from top. And here you can see we added also photovoltaic. Meanwhile, 700 dishes. Here's a turbine house, a 1 megawatt Siemens turbine. We produce heat, focus with the dishes on a receiver, pump water through the receiver, generate steam. And the steam goes into the turbine house and runs the turbine. So this is also a very nice, interesting project. This is our team. All volunteers are supporting the projects, and we do also training and education. And we try to train the local population, give work to them, job to them, and qualify them. Also, we also did hundreds of workshops there and invited engineers to see the technology and learn about it. Latest project is here, a new biogas and waste management project. We are right now building a biogas and planning for biogas plant and plan for waste management. It means we are collecting all the waste in our 3 campuses, Mount Abu, Gyan Sarovar and Madhuban, and then in Shantivan in Abu Road also we collect all the waste. Then we segregate it into organic, metal, glass, and plastic and all the rest. And the organic goes into a cruncher, then goes into pre-tank here, and pre-digester goes into the big fermenter. Then the gas is being produced, and the gas we are using then to run a 50 kilowatt generator. So this project is under construction and hopefully will be operational within maybe 6 weeks or so, we hope. Building in India is always a bit of a challenge. So you can see here our brothers, they're just installing here the mixer, and this is the gas balloon on top, and it's a very advanced design. One brother from Germany helps us in designing it, Klaus Peter, and it's a very innovative plant. So you can see lots of stuff is going on, and we have a lot of clean technology. Funds are also available, and it's also the need of the time to change. So all over the world, research is going on, and renewable energies, clean technologies available since hundreds of years, basically. And the real good one is available in the last 10, 15 years. It's all proven, it's working. Prices have come down. Money is also, a lot of money is there for all these things. And also, as you've seen, climate change is very dramatic, and we have to change our personal lifestyle, but also we have to change the way how we produce energy and how we commute, how we travel, how we produce food, and all these kind of things. So big question, what stops us? What is the missing link? And spirituality is the missing link. Our inner world and outer world are interconnected, and we lost this connection to our inner world. And that's why the approach we are sort of following right now is incomplete, because we lost the connection to our inner goodness, to our inner strength, to love, compassion, and all these qualities. And if I change on the inside, I become a good person. I become loving, peaceful, and compassionate. I can influence my family, my community, my country, the life on earth, and also future generations. So coming to the end of this presentation, and just want to close with one nice idea from Leonardo da Vinci. And he said, realize that everything connects to everything else. So basically we cannot observe or deal with the climate crisis as an isolated phenomenon which is outside there as a technical problem. We should see climate change as a holistic problem, and that we are part of that. Our human activity, our consciousness, our awareness is part of the problem, but part also of the solution. Because first we think, we create an idea in our mind, then we are going and we bring it into action. And our actions have been causing climate change starting actually hundreds of years ago, when we started to burn the forests, when we start cutting down the forest and introduced monocultures on the planet. So as we have caused the problem, we are also, of course, part of the solution. But therefore, we have to bring change to us, and the change has to come from the inside to the outside. And that's the approach which the Brahma Kumaris is propagating, which we are also promoting in many conferences, promoting at the United Nations Climate, desertification everywhere, but also outside of the UN conference. I was last week at the World Sustainable Development Summit, organized by one of the reputed technical research institutes in New Delhi in India. And there was the chance also to highlight this connection between our inner world and our outer world. So I think I stop here with sharing, because I've given you a very comprehensive overview on climate change, what is actually happening, what's going on in terms of data, and where are we right now in terms of science. I've given you also a bit of an overview what's going on at the UN conferences, and why sometimes it takes a bit of a long time, and it's not easy to understand actually what's going on at the climate conference. And I shared with you also what we are doing as an institution. We are trying to inspire on an institutional level, our people, to go, the institution can go green, our centers can go green, but we also try to inspire our individual members to personally look into their lifestyle and do whatever they can do, and then inspire also people who come in contact with us, our friends. And we have a pretty big presence also in social media. And we're trying there also to propagate this clean technologies, but also the clean mind, the harmony between our inner world and our outer world. So thank you very much. And I stop sharing the screen now. I hope this works. Oops. No, this here, stop sharing. So here I'm back. Yeah, and now hopefully we can have a bit of a conversation or a dialogue or whatever, some nice questions are there.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for definitely very extensive and comprehensive coverage of climate change and its impact, both mostly the negative impact of it. But however, from some of the questions that I prepared, and we will also address some of the questions from the floor, but just to begin with, what would you suggest, as the way, we were talking about the challenge, and then there is the opportunity. At the national level, as a country, how can they replicate what has been done? Is there any way countries can replicate the model of solar energy or the solar plants that has been done? What can a community in a smaller level do, and what an individual as one person to start their first step to make a change, to reduce the risk of climate change? What would be your recommendations from your experience, Brother Golo?
Well, on a national level, of course, all countries in the world, they are participating since many years at the United Nations Climate Conference, and all countries have their strategies and they have their plans, their action plans. And there's something called NDGs, that's National Determined Contribution, NDCs. This is the promises of each country, which they submit to the UN process, in which they say, we want to reduce our carbon emissions by so and so much. So all countries are very much aware also about the technology which is available for them. And for example, you can slowly reduce the coal-based power plants and replace them with photovoltaic or wind power-based plants. Just to give you an idea, a 1 kilowatt hour of electricity produced by a coal-based power plant almost generates 1 kilogram of CO2. And 1 kilowatt hour by a wind turbine generates 11 gram of CO2. So that's the difference. 1 kilo with a coal-based power plant and 11 gram of CO2 with a wind farm. So, of course, the technology is there, and nations also have control over their national policies. They can create tax incentives, put a tax on carbon. They can give subsidies for private house owners to put solar on the rooftop. They can subsidize such kind of things, which has happened often, still happens, and many countries have done that successfully. In Germany was a program called the 100,000 Rooftop Program, and they started it 25 years ago, and they gave you 50% of the cost or something like that. And they gave you a very good, when you took the electricity and gave it to the government, you feed it into the grid, they gave you very good payback for each kilowatt hour of solar. So nations can do a lot. Institutions or companies can also do a lot. As I said, photovoltaic is cheaper now, and many countries have a scheme. You can put solar on your rooftop, and you give it to the government, and you get a payback, and it's a business. In Germany, many farmers, if you go in South Germany, where there's a good sunshine, many farmers put on all their barns and houses and sheds solar, even sometimes on the fields. And they get a good money from the government, and it's a bit of a business and a good extra money which they earn. So the government has a lot of opportunities to do, and companies, organizations have also a lot of opportunities to go green. And most of the companies in the world, they have a green policy. Most of the institutions now, they formulated a green policy because It's the need of the hour, and everybody is aware that not only governments or individuals have a responsibility, but also companies and organizations and institutions. And as an individual, of course, you have all the choices. The biggest personal contribution is you become vegetarian, or you adopt a plant-based diet, which is even better. Or you look a little bit into your travel modus. Are you going in a big SUV every morning to the supermarket, or could you go with a bicycle, or could you walk, or could you take a local train instead of going by plane? There are like different options where you can reduce a little bit your personal carbon footprint. And there is even on the internet, there are different apps where you can, it's called carbon footprint calculator. You can put in your activities, how much you buy, how many computers you buy per year, how much you travel, how much you do shopping, how many cloth and this and that. And you put it in, and it gives you an idea how much carbon emission personally you emit per year. To give you an idea, an Indian average per person at the moment creates 3 tons of CO2 per year, and European at the moment 15 tons. In Saudi Arabia or places where they need permanent air conditioning and all this, it's up to 25 tons of CO2 per year. So these are the differences in lifestyles and emissions. And we can say that about 15 to 20% of the elite of the world are responsible for 80% of the emissions. So it's a problem of the developed nations and of the rich and the elite and the people who usually fully understand what's going on. Their lifestyle is to a great extent responsible for what's going on, So we have a lot of options on an individual level, on an institutional level, and on a governmental level. And in internet, you can read up policies, green policy of my country. What can I do? You can go on our webpage also on Eco Brahma Kumaris. You will find a lot of ideas what can be done.
Thank you so much for that, especially in terms of the individual level, because at national level, it's the policy, and then institutional level, it's the compliance to green. But then most of all, everybody is responsible to the earth individually. So to change the lifestyle matters, I suppose, because one of the aspect of SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, is to encourage people to be responsible consumption. And in one way of your suggestion is to change the lifestyle. Before I go further about that in more detail, there is a question from the floor. The question is, please share any technical challenges in regards with maintenance of those solar panels and etc. All the projects that you have. Do you face any challenges, and how did you curb those challenges?
Yeah, in the beginning, we started 30 years ago. Of course, we faced a lot of challenges. And in the beginning, maybe these challenges were a bit more and bigger. But meanwhile, the technology has been proven, refined, is very stable. Photovoltaic cells, for example, they have a lifespan of 20 years with a pretty stable output. They need occasionally a little bit cleaning. Depends, in which region you live. If you have regular rains and not so much dust, it's not a big deal. If you have a lot of dust in a desert area, you might have to clean once or twice a month. But these photovoltaic plates are very stable. Inverters nowadays also very stable. Lithium batteries, lead acid batteries, also very stable, very, very proven. And solar cooking is there. You can have a cooking box. Solar hot water collectors, also very proven, reliable, 20 years lifespan. Occasionally, you have to fix a small problem, but usually these systems are pretty stable and reliable now. I don't see that as a big issue. It's not more maintenance. If you have a car, you have to fill in petrol and bring it to the workshop every 10,000 kilometers. And we do it because we know it, and it's not a big thing. Or if we have a gas boiler or a heating system, we know every year the guy comes and does the service, So, of course, solar system similar. You have to do something, but it's not too complicated, and it's manageable, I would say so, yeah. Especially in the last couple of years, things have become very straightforward. it becomes mainstream. You know, solar has become mainstream, and everybody, the bit cleaning, bit looking, everybody can do nowadays. Not too complicated.
All right, thank you. So it's very sustainable and you can conserve it very well by maintaining it. Based on that same question, but it's what was the challenge even to change the thought process of people when you started this idea, when you wanted to bring it at the institutional level, you know, because it's a social behavioral change in people to accept a different way of doing things, to get people to fund you to do it, to believe that it's going to make a difference. What were the challenges and how did you cope with it?
Of course, any new idea which you try to introduce into a society or into a company or even a family, you will face some challenges because you are dealing with behavior of people, and that's often static. People don't really freely want to change. And first of all, you face also some opposition to new ideas. That quite often happens, you know. Because you basically deal with neuronal networks of the people and their behavior pattern, which have been impregnated since they are young. It's psychology, you know, and to bring in new ideas and say, oh, this is working or this is going to work, that needs a bit of extra convincing and this and that. And what is always good is to show a little demo. We started solar, I think in the 80s, 85, we brought some little electric car to our campus in the Brahma Kumaris, and in the courtyard it was driving around, and everybody was looking. It was an electric car with solar, and everybody was looking, said, oh, very nice, it is working, electric car. And then from that time onwards, step by step, then a little bit bigger system showing it was functioning, and then slowly build the trust of the people. Then slowly, if you are embedded in an institution or in the process, it is easier. If it's a top-down process that you just dump some technology and people say you do it, then often this approach was not successful. Often these systems, they did not work properly, or the maintenance was not there. So you have to go through the process that people identify with that system and understand it, and that they can become part of the project. And if they're part of the project, if their heart is into it, then they take care of it, you know. So it was a challenging process, but very luckily, Brahma Kumaris is administrated by women. They were quite open to this idea of protecting nature. And another thing, in India, the sun is Surya, it's the deity, you know, so to use the deity energy to make some power or to cook with it was a very good idea. And so we were lucky, I would say, right time, right spot, and it worked out, you know. So for the institution, we were successful 20 years, and it was pioneering. Nowadays, it has become mainstream, and it's also almost a necessity for any organization, for any company to have green projects or a green agenda or a green guidelines. You know, it's really important now, and it's expected from international organizations. It's expected to have environmental friendly projects. You know. But at that time, it was challenging, and diplomacy and patience was required.
Thank you for that very honest sharing about the challenges and how you are able to cope with it. And there's along the line, there is a question from the floor. It says that you say that it is cheaper to be proactive. Then why is the government paying more and being reactive to these initiatives?
Well, see, government is not like government. Government is like many people, many groups, many lobby organizations, and there are people who understand what has to be done. And there are people who are engaged in, let's say, the old technology, the fossil fuel technology. There has been a lot of investment being done. There have been mines operation for coal, for minerals, for this, for that. There have been power plants running. there has been a certain infrastructure being created, and people are working with that. And again, here we are dealing with mindsets of people, you know. So it's not everybody is able to adopt a new mindset and say, okay, we're going now to the solar and we phase that technology out, you know. So some people say it's running nicely, so we keep it as it is, you know. So government is not often straightforward, because it's also in between lobby groups and between what they would like to do and the necessity and what they can do, what politically is possible to get done. And the lobby groups are very powerful. Also at the UN climate conference, they are there. They estimated some 80,000 delegates at the last climate conference in Dubai, and about 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, maybe 10,000 per lobby group, you know, from oil, gas, mine industry, and all these kind of things. And they're quite powerful, quite smart. They influenced the governments, and all the big banks. The big money was also there. All the chairmen and CEOs of the major global banks were there, all of them, with all their stuff. So it's a tricky process to get the ball rolling and get the big players in the boat, you know. And again, the delay in response we are seeing right now is due to the behavioral changes, the change of awareness which everybody has to undergo. And a scientist who is getting firsthand all the data and information, or a spiritual person who is meditating and can feel what's going on, is maybe ahead in this transformation process as a manager of a coal-based power plant or whatever, you know. So it's a process. We are racing against time, and we have to see what will be the outcome in terms of how fast we can react to the unfolding catastrophe which we're seeing right now.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, we don't want any more devastating effect that would come. Yeah, and this is a very technical question, but very interesting question. Question from the floor: is using gas for hot water is worse than using electricity? So what would be the option?
Gas is also, burning gas is also creating CO2, not so much as coal, for example. And if you use electricity, there's a very nice technology. It's called a heat pump. And a heat pump is basically the reverse process of a fridge. You have a little compressor and you have a gas. And so it's the reverse process. Instead of creating cold on the inside and dump the heat outside, you make it opposite. You take the cold from the outside and create heat on the inside. So it's the reverse process, but it's similar technically seen. It's with a compressor, and you use electricity, and the COP, the power conversion factor, is 1 to 4. So approximately 1 kilowatt hour of electricity produces 4 kilowatt hour of heat, which is much, much better than a water kettle. You know, the normal water kettle, 1 kilowatt of electricity produces 1 kilowatt of heat. That's 1 to 1. But the heat pump absorbs energy from the surrounding. It's, for example, it's called air to water heat pump, and compresses that energy and transfers it into the water. And there the efficiency then is 1 to 4. So for example, if you install a heat pump, that's a very efficient way to create heat, hot water, or heat a building. My brother just in Germany has done that. And if you add photovoltaic on roof and you produce the electricity with photovoltaic, then you run your heat pump from it. You have a very beautiful system. And my brother is a doctor and is in environment since 20 years, and he has insulated the house. So Germany, we need heating and sometimes also cooling, but mostly we need heating in winter. So he has insulated the house, so it became very, very perfectly insulated. Then he put a heat pump outside, and he has 16 kilowatt of photovoltaic plates on the rooftop, and with a small battery bank and an inverter. And he has an electric car. So what he's doing now is he has 6 hot water collectors also on rooftop. So now he has a 500-liter hot water tank in the building, and the hot water collectors bring hot water to this 500 liters. The heat pump takes the energy from the air outside, compresses it, and creates heat, and pumps the heat also into the 500-liter hot water tank. And the photovoltaic cells produce electricity and supply electricity to the heat pump, but they produce much more. So extra electricity goes into the grid and he gets money for it, or he charges the electrical car, which is connected to that. So the system is designed in such a way that he drives his car by solar power, literally. His house is being heated and cooled down totally by also in winter by the heat pump and the flat plate collectors on rooftop. And he's totally energy autark. So it's possible it's called a zero energy building. It's possible to do so. The solar house where I live in here in Gyan Sarovar is also such a building. It's also a zero energy building. I live in a building which is made out of mud bricks, and I have 6 kilowatt photovoltaic, and I can heat and cool. I have a AC air condition, which is also literally like a heat pump. And I can heat the building with the AC, or I can cool it. So, and the electricity I produce with photovoltaic. So this is, for example, that's an example of such a system. You know, it's technology is out, it's working, you know, it's not a big deal.
Brother Golo, like this kind of affordable, are these affordable energies? Because in Southeast Asia, we have a lot of communities below poverty line. And could they afford? Do you foresee this? Because till now, it's an elite thing. The elite caused the issue, like you said, 80% of the elite community contributes to the emission, but they are also the people who can afford the entire installation, because it takes a lot. In Malaysia, just to give an example of a Southeast Asian country, it is still an expensive deal to do a solar system energy to the entire house, but it's a sustainable deal. In the future, it's very sustainable for them, but even to begin with, it's very expensive. So do you see that in the future, this can be made affordable to?
Yeah, you rightly say that in developing nations, it's a question also of finance. And that's where the government has to step in and make these things available also for a broader spectrum of the society of people, you know, not only for the elite and the rich one, but also for farmers and for poor people. Also in slum areas, you know, that's a big problem. And in India, for example, in the big metropolitan cities, due to global warming, in summer, the temperature can cross 50 degrees. And people die of the heat. It's heat stroke, you know, and children die after 1 week of dehydration and so on. It's quite dramatic. And they have forecasted that in India, the demand for cheap air conditioning will explode. So the government is now, so now you can buy an air conditioning in India for 20,000 rupees, which is like $300 or even less. And whoever can afford, he goes for it. Of course, now the problem is that this air conditioning needs electricity. And here you are in a very dramatic situation that the poor people are suffering most under the effects of climate change and have the least means to protect themselves or the financial power to go for this kind of systems, you know. You can do some things which don't cost too much money. For example, you can insulate your building. You can put, if it's only a tin sheet roof, you can put straw on top. You can plant trees so you have shadow. You can build the building with a natural ventilation system so the air can go through, it stays cool, and like this you can have a little water body inside. So there are some tricks what you can do also which don't cost a lot of money. A solar cooking box is pretty cheap. It's about $50 US. So there are some gadgets and some things which are not costly, which are cheap, which you can do. But I fully agree to you, for great portion of the population, especially in developing countries, it's a big issue and it's a problem. And that's where government has to step in. And that's also the discussion at the climate conference, it's part of what they call the climate justice, that the developed nation who are responsible for, to a great extent, for the emissions, that they are transferring funds to the developing world, and these funds are being utilized especially for the vulnerable and the poor. And the vulnerable are often the women and the children. These are the most vulnerable in climate change, are children and women. This is the group which is mostly affected and has the least means to protect itself, and it's a tragedy. We can say what is unfolding there, and I don't also have a straightforward remedy. I don't have a straightforward answer to this issue. I see the negotiations going on since 15, 20 years. I follow now the UN negotiation process. It's very slow, it's very bureaucratic. And of course, the rich nations are doing each and everything to avoid being made responsibility and pay the money, pay the damage, because it's going into hundreds of billions of US dollar. They're talking now of trillions of dollars. They say the humanity needs $3 trillion to fix the problem. That's the last figure I heard at the climate conference, $3 trillion US dollar. These are enormous sums. So now they try to make it attractive for the big money. They try to make climate investment interesting and attractive for the big money. That's the latest approach. So the big money goes by itself into climate investment because it's cheaper. And ultimately, also the bankers and the elite will realize if they destroy, if the boat is sinking, it's the whole boat of humanity. It's not only one part of the world which is sinking. Everybody is sinking down under. This understanding slowly also takes foothold amongst all people. However, again, we're dealing with behavior pattern and with consciousness, and these are slow movers.
Thank you so much for that, that we share the same sentiment when it comes to affordability of this kind of alternative energies that we are talking about. However, we are towards the end of the session. But for those who are staying in the session today, this is the first part. Right. So perhaps in the next sessions to come, Brother Golo will enlighten us more on what are the innovative ways that people can come up with, because the next part, the second part, we are talking about, can technology and strategy fix the problem? So the technical team will put up what's coming up in the next series. It's in the part 2, which is on the 23rd March. So can technology and strategy fix the problem, or do we have to think outside the box? So what are the ways innovatively, as individual, as institution, as nation, and as part of the humanity, what can we do innovatively, perhaps? So that will be the discussion point in the part 2 session. And then it is bringing back again human consciousness and spirituality, like what the Golo shared just now. The real challenge is in the spirituality aspect, the inner and outer world. So the karma of the past needs a spiritual solution. So we will bring back into that context on the part 3 of the discussion. But for today, we are extremely grateful for your sharing, which was very enlightening. I believe this is the beginning point for some to create the awareness. For some who had already have the awareness, they can go to show some interest. And then those who have interest, then at least they create the desire, the pure desire that will lead to an action. So with that, we are very grateful, and we will hand on this session once again to Brother Golo to guide us into a meditation, whereby again bringing all that we have discussed today. And as he said, it is very inside before we do something out to the world. So let us, I would pass this session once again. And thank you very much to everyone who joined the session.
Yeah, first of all, thanks very much for you all to organize this session. And I hope everybody's got a bit more insights what's going on about climate change, how serious the problem is, and also what's going on at the UN conferences, which is sometimes a bit cryptical, you know. And sometimes also we think, my God, this problem is so big, why we're not fixing it. So in the next session, we will go a bit more into spiritual solutions or in technical, what are the options which we have. And I thank you very much for the opportunity. And let us finish with a short meditation. And I put a nice background. Join the hands to save the world. And let us all relax and become very, very peaceful in our mind. I relax my body. My breathing becomes relaxed. And I concentrate on the middle of my forehead. That's where I am. I am a soul, a being of light. And that's where is all my goodness. Because originally I am a being of peace. And I am a being of love. And love and peace helps me to be compassionate. I see all the problems of the world. Climate change is there, but also the loss of biodiversity. Number of conflicts is also on the rise. And I'm sending love and compassion to all the conflicts in the world. Sending love and compassion to all those people who are suffering from the effects of climate change. To the farmers and the poor people especially. I send love and compassion to the decision makers, the politicians, who can really make a difference. And I send love and compassion to nature, to all the elements, to the air, to the earth, and to the water, to all the elements. I send my good wishes, vibrations of purity, vibrations of transformation. I send my love and compassion to all the animals on this planet. May all humanity be inspired to become vegetarian. May humanity be inspired to change their lifestyle. May we all charge ourselves with divine love, divine peace, and compassion. And let us all join hands and create such an atmosphere, such a vibration, that everybody can feel the change, the shift towards the better. Let us visualize the earth, holding the earth in my hands and giving love and compassion to the earth, sending the light, sending hope to the people. And I can see how the earth is changing. it becomes full of light. It becomes shiny. The souls wake up. They become aware. Transformation is happening. A new era is coming. An age of love. An age of peace, of harmony and beauty. And I will be there. I will be part of it. Everything will become good and nothing to worry. I'm slowly coming back into this world, into this body. And I say thank you very much and Om Shanti, and until next time.
Right. Once again, we would like to thank you, and we'd like to thank everyone who joined. Hope this program was beneficial to you, to spark something within and to start action today. And we will all meet once again on the 23rd of March for the second series of the same topic on climate change. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, everyone.